Recording stopped.
Oops. I should have had that paused from the start. Resume recording. There we
Recording in
go.
progress.
Okay. Hello, everyone. Welcome to What the Distance Education and ENG4C. Yesterday, we left you with um, key question number 9, horrific archetypes from Unit 2, Activity 1. And prior to that, we looked at in the unit here, we looked at the quest pattern, right, that comes from Joseph Campbell's monomyth. Um, and there are a number of other sites that you could visit on the internet that discuss this trend in horror films, or it could be an action and adventure film as well. The example we used was the Matrix, but we also showed you examples of the hero's quest from The Lord of the Rings and from The Wizard of Oz, right? So not exactly horror movies, The Wizard of Oz for sure. So um, going back to the key question now, we turn our turned our attention to characters, settings, and plots that pop up again and again in horror movies. Excuse me. So for this key question, then you're supposed to make a list of 3 or 4 character types, 3 or 4 setting location types, and 3 or 4 plot patterns that were typically seen in a horror movie. And I did show you some examples of those from websites that we visited. Today, we'll focus on key question number 10 on the same page, that is page 8 of Unit 2. Scary movie comic. Key question 10. After participating in our discussion and gathering more ideas about archetypes in horror movies, you are going to create a comic strip to illustrate at least 3 of the horror movie archetypes. Comic strips are actually a lot more similar to movies than you might think. Each panel of a comic is like pausing a moment in a movie. Here's some terminology that is helpful to know when reading or creating a comic strip. So we have panels, right? Actually, I should bring up a comic strip here. Whoops. Uh, as an example. Let me go here. Comic strips. Avengers. Okay. And we'll just look at images here. So there'll be lots of them here. All right, I'll just pick this one with Thor. We'll bring it up full page here. All right, there we go. Okay, so what are the different parts of a comic strip? Right, we have the panel. Right, so the panel is a distinct segment of the comic containing a combination of image and text in endless variety. So in our example here, right, the panel contains all of these cells, right, and so it has a number of different characteristics to it. We'll look at a few of them, Let's see. Let's take a look at the frame. The lines and borders that contain the panels. Okay, so each of these panels here, uh, sometimes called cells, they are separated by these different borders, right? So these borders are actually that stoppage in time that was referred to in the original description. Okay, so the gutter is the space between the framed panels. And there we are in between these panels, right? That's the gutter. I'm just running my mouse cursor over it. And these gutters can uh, be spaced at different um, uh, widths, right? And they can actually sometimes have text in them. They can have arrows pointing from one to the other. Captions. These are boxes containing a variety of text elements, including screen setting and description. All right, so let's see now. Okay, so uh, here's an example right here in this middle panel right here, right? It says swift seconds later, somewhat spellbinding swinger soars above the campus at good old ESU. Okay, so describing the scene, right? So these are boxes. They use them uh, for a variety of different ways, usually to describe the scene as it mentioned in the text here. Um, we have captions. Oh, sorry, I just said that one. Speech balloons, right? So speech balloons, there's a speech balloon right there as Thor screams for Asgard and justice, right? And notice that it is all in orange, painted in orange, and the text there is highly bolded. Now, let's see, I'm going to bring this up a little bit larger right here. And notice this different text balloon right here. There are dots. This is Iron Man here, right? There's dots here going to his head. So this is saying that he's not actually speaking these, he is thinking these thoughts. You can see the difference, right? So courage, fear, Sif, to thy side races Thor, right? And you can see that that arrow is pointing two different types of speech bubbles here, right? One he's screaming, he's loud, and then in the panel next to him, there is we have Iron Man, and it's his thoughts that are being read. All right. So let's go back here now. Yeah, so speech balloons, they enclose dialogue and come from a specific speaker's mouth. They may vary in size, shape, and layout and can alternate to depict a conversation. Types of speech balloons include those holding external dialogue, which is a speech between characters. That is the examples that we showed you with Thor. An internal dialogue, so Iron Man it was our example, which is thought enclosed by a balloon that has a series of dots or bubbles going up to it. And then we have special effects lettering. This is a method of drawing attention to text. It often highlights onomatopoeia or bang or pow. Now we don't have any bangs or pows in here, Um, no, we don't. Let's see if there is another page here. Close this. Uh, no, it's all the same. Mm-hmm. Usually when they're fighting, right? They'll have that. But um, this, where he says for Asgard and justice, that is a change from the normal text, right? As he's screaming, so that would be uh, drawing attention to using special effects lettering, the bold lettering. So for the following assignment, you will need to use an online program such as Comic Life. Ask your teacher for more information on these options. Your comic should contain the following: a clear beginning, middle, and end. Remember, it's a story. At least three horror movie archetypes, including characters, settings, and or plot, speech balloons, and or a brief paragraph explaining the archetypes you've chosen to illustrate. So this right here, what I have selected is your assessment criteria. Okay, so we do have an exemplar here on page 10, right? So it's pretty well straightforward with the same size panels and gutters. Now we have the text between these two people going back. I'm not sure we should be out here at night with an axe murderer on the loose, says the one girl. And the other girl says, don't be silly. And then the blonde haired girl says, aren't you even curious about the old abandoned cabin in the woods? And the other girl says, no, I'm not. um, now, just before we go on here, I want to highlight the blonde haired girl because often they put blonde haired girls and they are a sort of stereotype of somebody who is a bit stupid um, and naive, and just naturally runs into trouble. And there she is saying, come on, chicken. And her friend is saying, this is a terrible idea, but, oh, notice that it's in bubbles there, right? And then we get that creak, right? So that's not actually a speech bubble. It's just an action type of um, uh, indicator that something weird sound. And notice how they make this kind of sharp pointed sharply, I should say. Um, that's coming from upstairs. I don't like it. Where's the noise coming from? This is so cool, the dumb one says. Let's go find it. Oh, and her friend says, Cheryl, no. And then, Cheryl, eek, right? Looks like the same speech bubble, or the speech bubble looks like the creek out there. So she has met something there that made that noise, maybe, right? And what are the archetypes here? Well, spooky place outside, um, haunted cabin, um, in store, uh, all kinds of added extras here, spider webs, right? Old furniture, stairways. Okay, let's read the explanation of the story. In this comic, the haunted house represents an archetypal setting, the haunted house. It's the unfamiliar world that presents all kinds of challenges for the hero. The hero is presented by the girl in the pink t shirt. At first, she doesn't want to go into the haunted house, but her friend doesn't seem to see the danger. The hero's friend seems to be a common character type in the horror movie genre. She is a little bit reckless and doesn't seem to use common sense. These characters always seem to go into the attic or basement in the haunted house. I've chosen to illustrate a portion of the hero's journey for my third archetype, crossing the threshold. The hero was reluctant to enter the haunted house at first, but now that she has to enter the haunted house to save her friend. Oh, okay. So there's the archetype, the hero's journey going through that threshold into the house. Right? She didn't want to go in there, but she was coaxed to do it. Coaxed, maybe by protecting her friend. Okay, so that is our example, and with the explanation. So this is what we'd like to see you do exactly. We need this comic strip, and we need to see the explanation of how you use archetypes in your cartoon. Now, there's several different ways that you can do it. In the text here, it mentions comic life. I don't know much about that one. There are several different programs on the computer that you, or programs on the internet that you can use. So, so some, sorry, hold on. Some people may opt to just draw this themselves, depending on what accessibility they have to the internet, how familiar they are on using the technology. It might be just okay to use a ruler and pencil to do this. Maybe color it in with markers or crayons, whatever you have available. All right? But don't worry about your artistic prowess. Um, I'm not marking on artistic skill here at all. What I'm marking are exactly what we laid out here: clear beginning, middle, and end, at least three movie horror archetypes, speech balloons, and a brief paragraph explaining the archetypes you chose to illustrate. So, with that being said, I do have another option here that is available for all WASA students. Let me see if I can find it for you here. I just open it up. There we go. Canva. Are you familiar with Canva? Well, we do have free access to Canva with our WASA Google accounts. Okay, and just recently I had a student send in a comic strip that she made in Canva, and she was not familiar with using Canva at all. I think she might have just watched a few videos on the internet. All you have to do is go to YouTube and there, search Canva comic strip. Okay, so there we have a number of possibilities. I'm not going to play any of these, right? That's one comic strips in Canva. Um, you can watch these yourself. Just remember that's all you have to do for search, enter Canva comic strip, right? And there's a number of them then. So you can pick them and they will help you. Um, so once you get in Canva, right, and you just use your nnec.on, no, sorry, your nnec schools, your Google email to get in. So we'll look at templates, right? So you go searching, you're in Canva, and then you click on templates. And then, let's see, we look for, we have to click on this button here. And, oops, I don't want newsletters. That was an accident, sorry. We'll go back to templates here. Poster, no, not poster. Let's look, do a search here. We'll go search for cartoon. Cartoon maker. Hmm. Let's see. That's not exactly what we're looking for, but there are different options here. These are just kind of cartoon posters. Well, we don't want to go here. We want, let's see, cartoon. Uh, cartoon. Cartoonify. No, that's not it. um, cartoon page might work better. Hmm. I did have that. Find that before. Just bear with me. Hmm. Well, I lost my spot. Okay, cartoon. Let's go back. Maybe I'm missing something out of here that I can. Comic strip. It's not cartoon, it's comic strip, okay? Well, see, that's like anything with the internet. You have to make sure that you nail it down with the right query or the right search. There we go. That should bring us up. Okay. There. We have a wide assortment. Let's just click on one of these, right? Okay. I like that one. I'm going to use that template. Oh, yeah. We shouldn't have to pay for this. Okay, that says paid elements. Well, we don't want to go there then. Let's find one that doesn't have paid elements. We might have to look around. Okay, customize this template. Some of them you have to pay for and others you don't, right? Okay, so there's a place to put a caption. You can change that. You can put text here, or there's a speech bubble right here. Then you can add characters as well in the different panels. Let's see. I'm going to close this, accept all cookies. Okay. We have page 1. Page 2 has all of these different or these different bubbles, like thought bubbles and exclamatory statements. Um, they're all right here. Just regular speech. You can change all of these as well, right? You can edit, make these larger like this. You can change the border style like that. Um, Now, let's go back to the cells here first. Change the color of the cells by this, using this. And we can also add different elements to the cartoon itself. Let's see now. Let's put in a layer here. Link, alternative text. Just like that. And I can add text over here. What elements can I add? Well, I can add all kinds of neat things. I can add the sun. Drag that over here like this, right? Just here, just shrink that like that. Let's see what else. We got tons of stuff we can add in here. Photos, uh, pictures. Let's see now. Well, there's the sun. Let's look for um, graveyard or gravestone. Okay, there's lots of them right here. I can grab one of those and drag it over. Oh, it makes it quite large, but I want it to fit in, so I just shrink it by grabbing the corner. Move it over here, right? So, and then you can add trees and grass and everything else and build up. You can then add your characters. Uh, Characters. Let's put a dog in there. Let's see what kind of dogs we have. Okay, how about this guy right here? Oh, he's huge again, but we could change that just by dragging it down, right? We can put him up here. Okay. And so you can have lots of fun with this. Anytime that you make a mistake, right? Control Z, Control Z. Well, I'll have to do that a couple of times until get them right out of there. But let's see if I can find um, old house. Oh, forest maybe. Right? Misty forest. They probably won't have that, but we'll look. Oh, look at that. Oh, where'd you go? Oh, yeah, look at that one. That would be a great backdrop for one of the cells, right? We can remove, they won't let us remove the watermark unless we, there. But don't worry about the watermark. There we go. So we have a misty forest and we can put people in there, right? Elements. Let's look for people. Characters. Well, characters might be better. Oh, maybe even spooky characters. Yeah, that will work. Oops, I put that in the wrong place. Should be in the beginning here. Okay, let's see if we got spooky characters here. Oh, there's a vampire. We'll put him right on top here. Okay, so he becomes a character in your story. This one's animated too. There we go. Right. Anyways, you get what I'm doing here? I'm just kind of having fun, but I'm making my comic strip at the same time. Remember, you want those archetypes in here, and right away I got this creepy character. I got the spooky setting with the misty forest area. So the only thing you can really do is play around with this and go and look for um, some ideas, have some ideas, do some brainstorming on what archetypes you could use. But remember, you have to have a beginning, middle of, and an end of your story. You must have characters in your story. Okay. Other than that, pretty basic, right? But also, like if you are adverse to playing around with the internet and technology, you can do all this by hand as well, right? Um, the options are there for you. I've had students be quite successful with both different methods, doing it from the physical, right, hand drawn, to the technical, internet based. All right, so I think that's enough playing around for me today. I'm going back to the unit right now, and we'll just go over what we discussed in the unit and bring it all back to how you're going to be assessed. All right, so that assessment then lies on page 9, right? Right here, your story, and that's what it is a story. It's a comic strip, of course, but it's also a story. It must have a clear beginning, middle, and end. There needs to be at least 3 horror movie archetypes included in the characters, like my vampire there, and the settings, like my spooky forest, and or the plot, which I didn't really create a plot because we just didn't have enough time. But I gave you enough examples of plots there yesterday that you could fit in. Speech balloons, right? And a brief paragraph explaining the archetypes you have chosen to illustrate. And our exemplar there is on the following page with both the comic strip and the explanation. Well, have some fun with this one, okay? And you can get good marks for it. It's, what was it worth again? 50 marks. Wow, 50 marks for having fun. There you go. All right, so I think we'll call it a day today. Please send in your work as soon as you get it done. We are not, well, there's about 7 weeks left before the end of this school year. And you can get it done. You can get all this work completed from ENG4C. And if it's the only course you need to graduate, then there you go. I'm here to help you. That's my job. And I'll be around on the weekends as well. I can help you if you call in through the normal channels, Facebook, email, however, which way you prefer. All right. So, thank you very much for joining us today. I hope you enjoyed our class. If you have any questions at all, contact me, please, as soon as possible. Otherwise, have a great evening, everyone, and we'll talk with you again tomorrow. Bye for now.